Hi there, this is Ajit Navlaka, co-founder of EverCoach, and in the time of crisis, we are creating this special video series where me and my business partner, life partner, Neeta Bhushan, are creating very special videos that will help you get through this crisis in as wonderful way as possible. Today, we are going to be discussing a lot more about how to manage yourself during this time. How do you really manage your energy, your performance, your productivity, and all the good stuff that's around you? How do you really manage all of that? So we're going to be diving deep into that. Before that, let's roll it.
So today's episode is going to be very, very informative. I think it's going to be very powerful for each of you because we're talking about you managing yourself. Because for some of you, this crisis is really, really a big deal. It might be the first time that you have stumbled across something super adverse. I know for everyone, obviously, this is an unpredictable time, and this is the first time that I think we've ever seen
something like this.
Yeah, that everyone's on lockdown, and it's impacting several different areas of our life, from our social networks to our businesses to the way even we operate. Like, our world has completely shifted overnight, and how that can really take a toll on your mental strength. And some of you, this might be another crisis that you've overcome. This might be another adversity. This might be another challenge. So either way, you've come to the right place, because we're going to kind of dig in and we're going to talk about how to navigate through those tough feelings, how to experience those emotions, and some of the tools that you can do during this time, not only for you, but your community, the people you serve, and most importantly, if you have little ones, if you have children, how you can have those conversations with them about what this time right now is.
So the first thing that I want to really dive into is anxiety. A lot of us, as we are business people and entrepreneurs and business owners and coaches and consultants, what happens in the world is now, because the world is changing so fast and so rapidly, and we don't know what's going to happen, it causes anxiety, right? And anxiety around our business. How will we get our payments for next month if the company that you were coaching has suddenly come to a halt or have gone remote, and you're not able to do that workshop that you were supposed to do? Or if you had an event and that got canceled, this all leads to anxiety, and you get really, really anxious about things. And I want to address to that, right? So firstly, is if there's anxiety, the reason is because there's uncertainty, right? Uncertainty leads to anxiety, and uncertainty is there because the world is uncertain right now. You can't really predict what's going to happen in the future. But here is what you can do to counter the uncertainty, to counter the anxiety that is being bred because of that uncertainty, is that you do something that is called an exercise of fear setting. This exercise is not my personal exercise. It's an exercise I learned from Tim Ferriss, and we'll link up the TED Talk where he really talks about this exercise in detail if you want to dive deeper into it. It's a full 20-minute talk where he walks you through the exercise. But in summary, the exercise is about drawing out the worst case scenario, right? When you draw out the worst case scenario, when you draw out what will happen if everything that you think can go wrong actually goes wrong, what will really happen? What would that mean for you? What would that look like? What would that feel like? If, let's say, all of the decisions that you make right now go wrong, what would that worst case scenario be, right? Most of the time, the worst case scenario may be that from an entrepreneur for a little while, you might have to go back to do a job. Or the worst case scenario might be, I'll be cooped up in my house for several months from now, and that will really distress me. The worst case scenario could be somebody that I love may get infected by this deadly thing, and they may pass, which hopefully not really happens. But let's say any of those scenarios that you draw out would be the scenarios that you could draw out, right? That could be the worst case scenarios. And when you have set those as your worst case scenario, what you can start to do now is you can start to go, okay, now that I know this is the worst that can happen to me, what can I do now that will help me to avoid these situations? What can I actively think about so this doesn't happen? So if your worst case scenario is, somebody that I love can get infected by this, and they may leave me as a partner, as a supporter, as a parent, or whatever that is, well, actively, what can you do about it? Can you actively reach out and have those dialogues and not have them feel isolated or anything like that? Could you have that bond, right? Or whatever that is. Like, what is the active act that you can do so you don't necessarily see the consequences that you're hoping or fearing from, right? This basically sets you on a path to say, yes, I understand these could be the worst case scenarios, but I'm not going to let them happen because I'm taking active action towards it, right? So because you're taking active action towards it, there's no way that that worst case scenario actually happens, right? Because you're taking action towards it. And then what you would want to do is to say, even if after all this action that I took, it does happen, what does that really mean? And what would it mean if I didn't take these actions? And when you set these things rationally in your mind and you write them on a piece of paper, or you write that on your computer, or you write that on your iPad, or whatever that is the device that you do use, what happens is the world becomes a lot more rational to you. So the uncertainty starts to become certain because you've defined actions. You're going, if I do this, this is going to happen. If I do this, this is going to happen. So what happens is because of the certainty that you've created for immediate future, the long-term uncertainty that will still loom on us, and that's just the truth of life in this moment, it will go away, or at least will give you less anxiety, right? And that takes away that fear and that immobility that you might have right now because you're just like anxious about everything. It'll give you some paths towards certainty.
So this is all great, and I wanted to add to the conversation because in times of personal crises, there's a huge reflection to be said about your internal state. And this is my jam, and I love this so much because it's really talking about your mental fitness, your own mental health, your emotional health. And quite a few years ago, I wrote this book, Emotional Grit, and it's so timely at this moment. So timely at this moment because we all need those characteristics. We need grit. We need resilience. We need to be able to step into a better version of our leadership, which might require us to better manage our emotions, or maybe for the first time to be able to go and not distract ourselves, not be busy and do other things, but really allow ourselves to feel. So I'm going to lead with some examples for you, and just to give you context. So quite a few years ago, I decided to actually leave my first marriage. And it was when my ex-husband hit me for the last time that I would allow him to strike me for the last time. And I remember so vividly on that day, December 31st, 2011, when my brother and I, it was New Year's Eve, but my brother and I went back into the home that I had escaped from a few days earlier just to grab a few more things. Now, when we get to the house, I realize all of the locks inside the entire home, my 5-story, 4-bedroom home in Chicago, all of the locks had been changed. Mind you, he had managed to change the locks in less than 3 days in our entire home. I was paralyzed by fear. And my brother, because we were at my home, he decided to get a bat and bash in to the home. This is the home that I was a willing prisoner in for years. Now, at that moment in my garage, as my brother's bashing that door in, I had to make a choice. And he looked at me and he said, "How long are you going to wait?" And what he was referring to was, I hadn't told a single soul. I hadn't told any of my family. And I was so afraid. I was so afraid of what people would think, that I was living this lie for a very long time. But I knew I had to make a decision. In that moment, I decided that I was going to call the cops, that I was going to file for a restraining order, that was going to lead me to stand before a judge and recite all of the instances of abuse. And then, finally, get that divorce. Now, in all of those instances, what I realized looking back, and which is one of the reasons why I wrote the book Emotional Grit, this was much larger than me losing my mother, my father, and my brother, because this was that breaking point. I was leaving a home that I had. I was also leaving somebody that I was with for about 5 years. But in that moment, you have to realize, and what I realized then was, first thing is awareness. If you are aware of the situation that you're in, we can make somewhat of a better decision. In that moment, I was aware that this was a very destructive place that I was living. I mean, he had changed the locks in our home. So I could actually go back, or I can leave. And so that was one, is the awareness. Two was accepting my current reality. I couldn't deny it anymore. I couldn't deny that I was living this reality. Now, for some of you, this reality right now where we're on lockdown and things are going to be uncertain for a while, this is the reality. We can't escape it. We might have some downtimes in our businesses. This is the reality. How can we accept that? I had to accept that, yes, after all those years of denial, I was finally admitting that I was in the situation that I was in. I was in an abusive, physically and emotionally abusive relationship. And then being able to commit to an action. So being able to commit to an action, which led to basically what I talk about now, but it's developing grit. And I use grit as an acronym, and I want to be able to share that with you. We have a few links below that will help you build your grit and help you grow your grit kit, and we can share that below for you guys as well. But it turned out that over the next few years, obviously it led me to Ajit after going through all of that. But for those of you,
all that matters. No, I'm joking.
Which is true. But to go through such a heavy time of crisis, I mean, I remember for those first few weeks, I was living in my car. I was a dentist, by the way. I was living in and out of my car, staying at friends' couches, people that, I could actually trust, because I was living in fear. Fear. And for some of you, fear is that reality right now, not knowing what is next. I was in such grave fear because I thought, am I being followed? Who are these people coming into? I had a practice. And so, fear does some crazy things, right? And we've talked about this in part one. It makes you sometimes think irrationally and make bad decisions or irrational decisions based on the fear. Now, when I decided to grow, and we talked about this in video one, be able to grow, so meaning that be open to growing yourself and surrounding yourself with mentors and people that could actually help you. Now, while I was living in and out of my car, I made that decision that I wasn't going to keep this to myself anymore, the secret that I'd been keeping for so long, that I was going to let my team know that, hey, I've got most of my stuff that I could pack from my home literally in the back of my BMW. And you would never ever think that, but I had such a shame and the stigma around my current situation because I hadn't really accepted it. But once I actually said yes, once I said yes to growth, and growing could look so different to everybody, it opened up so many possibilities. Because it was from that point where I said, okay, I'm going to get help. I'm going to hire all of these consultants so that they can help me work on, I was a dentist at the time and I had a full-blown practice, so that they can help me get things in order in my practice so that I can actually do some healing around the situation that I'm in right now, which is going through the divorce and figuring out all of the things that I needed to figure out within that first 4 weeks, because that was major crisis mode time. I didn't even know where I was going to be living. So once I did that, my team just fell into place. They got empowered. They started to step up. They actually said, why didn't you ever tell us? There was no judgment. And these were all the things that I was fearing.
Yeah. No, and that is a good reminder for us right now is we can get real and we can get honest and we can be present to what's happening for us emotionally and for us physically as we are in this state, in this situation that we are in. It may end tomorrow, it may end in a couple of weeks, we don't know, right? And when we don't know, it's a good thing to kind of lean in to really rediscover, to kind of know a little bit more about ourselves, right? This is the time where you ask, what are those prisons or situations that you haven't got out of, right? You have the space. That space is important. As a coach, you've been providing space to your clients. You've been creating that space for your students. You've been creating space for other people. This is a good space for you. This is a good space for you to say, hey, let me create some space for myself right now. Let me ask myself, what is it that I am not giving up because I feel like that I have to hold on to this, even if it's painful, doesn't serve me, doesn't help me grow, doesn't help me live my life to the fullest extent, right? Invite yourself to that space so you could ask yourself those powerful questions and do a little bit of self-coaching. And that may be a good thing to do right now while you have a little bit of space and you're feeling all those emotions that maybe not felt in a little while, because we've had fear as human beings. It's not, we fear a lot of things. We fear credit card bills sometimes. This fear for some of us is real. Some of us who may have less immunity may feel right now threatened for their lives. This has not happened in a minute in humanity. We haven't seen a war anytime recent. I mean, we've seen wars, but not necessarily the people who are watching this have seen that intensity of war at homeland in a while. And so it is an intense fear, and it's totally understandable. I invite you to lean into that emotion as well and really ask yourself what's important to you right now. How are you going to really live going forward now that you have experienced this different type of fear? How are you going to change your reality? How are you going to lead from here on so you can really have a different dialogue for yourself, which invites me to one of the things that Neeta mentioned in passing is, of course, first is be honest and get really real with you. And another one that she mentioned was to take action towards it. Is to say, all right, I'm going to share this with some people. I'm going to put that out in the world because that's a way to process that emotion. I'm going to really check in and really make a hit list or a list of things that I'm kind of going, hey, I'm settling for here, right? I got to reframe this reality. I got to get a coach on this. I got to get a consultant on this. I got to get a course on this, whatever that is for you, whatever is the truth for you there. But you want to invite yourself to be able to actually check a little bit and go, okay, what are those emotions that are coming up for me?
So, and I want to give you these tools, and you can obviously write it down because we've been sharing some really heavy and really big stories. But the reason why I'm sharing them is because in those times when you're on the intersection of massive growth on the other side, but the other side of that is just holding you back, and that's fear. So what we've already shared and what I've shared earlier after sharing that story is that the first point is to have that awareness and really knowing that, okay, this is what's happening right now. This is exactly what's happening. I'm going to be at home for the next 3 months. Some of our events are going to be canceled this year. I'll have to take a serious inventory of what the reality is. Next is, how can you accept the reality? Accepting the reality is tough. But in accepting the reality, you're knowing that this is impermanent. It's not going to last. Just like everything else that you've endured in your life. Just like I knew that in some of those toughest days, the darkest days in between, when I initially left, that monumental moment that completely changed, my life, to the time that I got that divorce, it was crazy. It was crazy. But in my mind would go in spirals. Like what Ajit was talking about earlier, how that negative mindset keeps you going in that spiral. It's a loss of control. And that's for some of you watching this, you're experiencing that you feel completely helpless and hopeless because it's completely out of your control. When I was waiting for, the divorce proceedings and going back and forth, it was awful. It was nasty. It was all of these just terrible emotions that at some days I didn't want to work. I didn't have that motivation. I had to actually think of a mantra. And that's the next thing is, what kind of mantras can you actually have to start programming your mind? Because remember, we've been talking about this, and you know this because this is what you share with your clients. your thoughts create your reality. So even though right now you're hit with this from an external viewpoint of there's nothing in your control right now, that's the reason why we can get into that negative spiral. Definitely, for sure. Because it's not something that we can change, but what we can control is our reactions toward it. What we can begin to, the next point is to be able to understand your emotions, to be able to understand and know, where is that trigger coming from? Why am I getting triggered about this? Or why am I becoming fearful about this? Or what is this fear saying? So again, like Ajit was saying, how you coach other people, have that same compassion and be able to use those same tools on yourself to build that emotional intelligence, to build your emotional fitness. Because yeah, these are trying times. And then finally, I mean, in those really crazy moments, going back into the story that I shared, I had to rebuild everything. I mean, I walked away from an entire community. Even some of my family members, they didn't really accept that I was getting a divorce. And so for a while, I didn't really have much support. I had my aunt, who has been my cheerleader for the longest time, who I was afraid to really let in. And when I did, things changed. But surround yourself with fans, surround yourself with people that can really support you. And that might require you to reach out as well. You to post on social media. Right now we have the age of social media, so you can utilize it to your advantage. You can go live and really share like, hey guys, this is exactly what I'm feeling right now. And things are tough. Here's what's actually going on. A vulnerability, as Brene Brown says, is the key to unlocking courage. And how can you, as one of our team members just shared, how can you activate courage in other people as a result? And maybe that first step is activating your own courage. Because with that also transmutes the fear. It shifts and changes the fear into something that we can do for others, right? And so I wanted to just recap those 5 steps again. Is first, it's having the awareness. Second is accepting your reality. The third is really develop a mantra that will get you and keep you going. The fourth is being able to really understand your emotions, because your thoughts are everything. And if you are surrounded and swimming in that constant dialogue of, self-doubt and, oh my gosh, this is never going to end, it's never going to end. And trust me, I have been there. I totally know. Waking up every morning where I had to force myself to really say the mantra, I am bold, I am brave, I am beautiful. I'm bold, I'm brave, I'm beautiful. Whatever that mantra is for you. And then to really surround yourself with people. Stay connected. If you guys are all commenting on this video below, maybe there's more of you in the community that can stay connected in several different one of our groups. This is that time. This is that time to show up for yourself, but show up for each other.
So one more thing that I invite you to do. So what me and Neeta are doing is, for the next few days, we are committing to checking on these videos and see if there's something particular that's happening for you. We are there for you. We are going to try and help answer any of the questions that you might have and see if we can support you in any way beyond this video. So if you have anything that's happening for you, if there's a question that you have, it's a concern that you have, it's a person that you're trying to deal with while being isolated like this, if there's a challenge in relationship or anything that may be, go ahead and put a comment below, and we're going to take the time to really respond to each one of you, including my team, including a group of coaches that work with us internally in our companies, different companies that we have. We're going to try and respond to each of your questions. So if there's anything that's coming up for you, go ahead and do that. We're here to support you. We're here to support you as a community. So go ahead and do that. Now, I want to remind you one thing, right? Like everything in life, this is going to pass. I know it feels like time is stuck, because you're stuck at home and you might have a little bit of cabin fever and you might be thinking, what the hell just happened? And life came to a halt and life came to a reflection, and you have a mirror in front of you, your kids are right there and your partner's right there, and you've not had an extended conversation in a long time with them, and right now you have to, and you have to deal with it. If childcare is not available or schools have closed for you, it might have been the situation you've never actually spent 7 days straight with your kids at that much amount of time, and schools are going to continue to be closed even when this video is posted. So we totally understand. And it is there for us as humanity to also learn. It is also for us humanity to learn through this experience and say, how can we be even better than what we have been as of now? How can you be a better parent? How can you be a better partner? How can you be a better colleague? How can you be a better coach, a better speaker, a better author, a better consultant? So give yourself some credit. Lead yourself with compassion. Give yourself some compassion and know that like everything has been fine and that you have lived this life beautifully. You'll continue to live this life beautifully once this passes. You will be okay. We'll be okay. We love you.
We love you.